Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really fundamental, the span of human life.
Yeah, it affects everyone.
Absolutely. And you, our listener, have pulled together a really fascinating set of articles and research. It looks at lifespan from, well, all sorts of angles: biology, psychology, ethics.
And even AI now, which is quite something. We've got that piece, human lifespan, an AI perspective mixed into.
Right. So our mission really is to dive into these sources you've provided and pull out the key insights, distinguish between the main ideas, maybe find some surprises.
Definitely. We're aiming to get to the heart of what influences how long we live.
It feels like quite a journey mapped out here, starting with the basics, the biology, then something like sunlight, which seems simple but clearly isn't.
Not at all.
Then the big stuff, mortality, the philosophy.
The meaning of it all.
Exactly. And wrapping up with how AI is changing the game.
Yeah, how it's reshaping our understanding, maybe even our future.
Okay, let's start at the beginning one. What exactly is lifespan? Seems obvious, but maybe not.
Well, at its simplest, yeah, it's just the time between birth and death. But looking through the sources, Merriam-Webster, Britannica, others, it gets nuanced.
How so?
We talk about average duration for a species or just one person's existence. Britannica makes a good point. There seems to be a theoretical maximum lifespan for humans.
Like that 120-year figure you sometimes hear.
Exactly, that kind of thing. But it's mostly theoretical, often based on the oldest recorded person. It's less about that absolute max and more about understanding what affects how long we actually live. That's key for public health.
So the average length of life.
Right, or sometimes just how long the individual lives.
Yeah.
Testbook.com and bygus.com frame it as birth to natural death, mentioning genetics play a role. Dictionary.com keeps it simple, how long a person lives.
Okay, so this brings up that really important distinction. Lifespan versus life expectancy. They're not the same thing, are they?
Not at all. Lifespan is that, like absolute potential, the upper limit. Maybe 120, maybe more. We don't even know for sure.
The best case scenario.
Precisely. But life expectancy, that's a statistical average. It's how long someone born today or someone of a certain age is expected to live based on current trends.
Based on data.
Yeah, based on population data. Testbook.com puts it well. Life expectancy is the average lifespan of a population, while lifespan is a maximum possible. Big difference.
And our genes, they set some of that potential lifespan, right? The upper limit.
They definitely play a role, yeah.
Yeah.
Heredity gives us a sort of blueprint. Those Quinn studies mentioned in the AI piece, they suggest maybe 20 to 30% of the variation in how long people live comes down to genetics.
Okay, so 20–30% genes. But life expectancy is more about the bigger picture, the population level stuff.
Exactly. It's a key demographic measure, really useful for understanding population health, planning Social Security, that kind of thing. It's calculated using these things called life tables.
Life table.
Think of them as detailed scorecards. They show the probability of surviving from one age to the next for a specific group of people.
And it varies a lot.
Hugely. Depends on sex, age, race, where you live, when you were born, all those factors.
The numbers really show that, don't they? Global average in 2022, around 72?
Roughly, yeah.
And the U.S. figure for 2023, a bit higher, 79-ish, but then you drill down.
And the gaps are stark. U.S. in 2022, men around 75, women over 80. And look at the racial and ethnic differences. Asian Americans around 84.5, Native Americans closer to 68.
Wow, that's a massive difference. Nearly 17 years.
It is.
Yeah.
And it highlights that these terms aren't just simple biology. They connect to really deep societal issues. And, the sources even touch on tricky questions like defining an individual or when life begins and ends.
Especially with things like AI potentially changing definitions.
Right, or even just understanding things like asexual reproduction.
Yeah.
AI might help us refine these concepts or challenge them.
Fascinating. But it underscores a key point. Even if there's a theoretical max lifespan, our actual life expectancy is massively shaped by our circumstances.
Oh, absolutely. Environment, lifestyle choices, healthcare access, socioeconomic status. These are enormous factors. They drive those disparities we just talked about.
And this is where AI could be really powerful, analyzing all that complex data.
Exactly. It can help untangle those complex interactions, see the patterns, understand the real drivers of life expectancy for different groups and individuals. That's vital for better public health policies and more personalized health advice.
Okay, that gives us a solid foundation. Now let's shift gears to something, well, elemental. Sunlight. Our sources really emphasize its importance.
They really do. It's not just for seeing, is it? Natural light is fundamental to our biology, our well-being. It's the main driver of our circadian rhythm.
That internal 24-hour clock.
Governs sleep-wake cycles, hormone release, body temperature, so much. Sunlight is the primary Zeitgeber.
Lightgeber, like time giver.
Exactly. It's the environmental cue that synchronizes our internal clock with the outside world. Morning light nudges the clock forward, helps us wake up. Evening light can delay it.
So it's about setting the rhythm for the whole day.
Pretty much. And it directly affects melatonin.
That sleep hormone.
Right. Light hits the eyes, signals the brain to dial back melatonin production. Darkness triggers its release from the pineal gland. Getting enough bright light during the day is actually crucial for producing enough melatonin at night.
Oh, that's interesting. You need daytime light for nighttime sleep.
You do. And it's not just visible light. Even the infrared spectrum plays a role, apparently. Studies show daylight exposure really impacts those morning melatonin levels. It's key for a healthy sleep cycle.
And it's not just sleep, right? The sources link sunlight to mood, too.
Absolutely. Sunlight boosts serotonin production.
The feel-good chemical.
Kind of, yeah. It helps regulate mood, feelings of well-being, focus. More sunlight, potentially more serotonin, leading to feeling calmer, happier.
And less sunlight
can mean lower serotonin, which is linked to a higher risk of depression, including seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. There's research directly connecting sunlight duration and serotonin production rates in the brain. It's like a natural mood lifter.
SAD, that winter depression when the days get short.
Exactly. Low mood, loss of interest, fatigue, changes in sleep and appetite. The theory is that lack of sunlight messes with serotonin, melatonin, and our whole circadian rhythm.
Amazing how fundamental light is, which explains light therapy.
Precisely. Using bright, artificial light boxes that mimic sunlight. It's a proven treatment for SAD. Helps reset that internal clock, improves mood, sleep, energy.
And humans have always known the sun's important, haven't they? Culturally, historically.
Oh, definitely. Think ancient Egypt and Ra, the sun god.
Right.
The Incas, the Aztecs, major sun worship. And structures like Stonehenge, aligned with the sun, it's deeply ingrained.
And now AI might help us optimize our sun exposure.
Yeah, the AI piece suggests it could give personalized advice based on your genetics, your schedule, where you live.
How much time you need, when's best.
Exactly. AI could even help design buildings, workplaces, homes to maximize beneficial natural light. Smart environments.
Okay, what about the moon then? Lots of folklore there. Does it have the same kind of biological clout?
Probably much less, biologically speaking, in our modern artificially lit world, but culturally, huge.
That's lunacy.
Right, the word itself comes from that old belief. Lots of folklore connecting the full moon to odd behavior, even physical effects.
But what's the science say? Does it actually affect sleep or behavior?
The evidence on sleep is, well, mixed. Some studies show maybe a tiny reduction in sleep duration around the full moon. One found kids slept about 1% less. Maybe the extra brightness affects some people. There's also some tentative research looking at lunar cycles and mental health, maybe links to mood shifts and bipolar disorder, but it's not strongly established.
No, mostly myth and folklore then.
Largely seems that way for direct, strong biological effects now. Culturally, historically, massively significant timekeeping, mythology, feminine energy associations. But those stories about ERs being busier on a full moon generally lack strong scientific backing. Pre-existing beliefs might play a big role there.
Right, confirmation bias?
Could be, though the AI perspective offers a neat idea. Maybe AI could analyze vast data sets, social media, historical records, to look for subtle correlations.
Even if it's not direct biology, maybe psychological effects.
Exactly. Or AI could model how moonlight might have affected behavior back when it was the main source of light at night, pre-industrial societies.
That is interesting, using AI to probe those subtler historical influences. Okay, so we've covered physical factors. Let's move into the deep end, the philosophical side, our encounter with mortality.
Yeah, this is fundamental to the human experience, isn't it? Grappling with the fact that life ends. Philosophers have been chewing on this forever.
The ancient Greeks, for instance.
Right. Socrates saw death as either like a dreamless sleep, nothing to fear, or transition. Uncertainty was the issue. Plato believed the soul was immortal, death just freed it from the body.
And Epicurus.
He argued death is just the end of sensation. So you can't experience it, therefore, nothing to fear, different angles, but all trying to find meaning in our finitude.
And the Stoics, very practical.
Acceptance was key. Memento mori, remember you will die. Not to be morbid, but to focus you on living virtuously now, appreciating the present.
And Eastern philosophies offer very different frameworks.
Completely different cosmologies often. Buddhism's cycle of rebirth, samsara, the goal being nirvana, escape from the cycle. Impermanence is central.
Hinduism, too, with reincarnation.
Yes, and the eternal soul Atman, contrasted with the temporary material world. Taoism sees life and death as just part of the natural flow, the Tao.
And Confucianism, more worldly.
More focused on social harmony, ethical life here. Lasting impact comes through virtue, contributing to society a kind of earthly immortality, you could say.
Fascinating contrasts. Then you get existentialism really wrestling with the anxiety of it all.
Oh, absolutely. Kierkegaard on despair, rooted in awareness of death. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence. Could you embrace living your life over and over? A challenge to live fully.
Camus and the absurd.
Right, life has no inherent meaning in a silent universe, especially facing death. So, rebel. Embrace life passionately despite the absurdity. Sartre stressed radical freedom. We must create our own meaning. Death doesn't negate that responsibility.
The sources also mention terror management theory. Explain that a bit.
It's a psychological theory. It suggests that knowing we'll die creates this underlying, maybe unconscious anxiety or terror.
Okay.
And to manage that terror, we invest heavily in our cultural worldviews. Religion, nationalism, whatever gives life meaning and makes us feel part of something lasting. And we strive for self-esteem.
So reminding people of death mortality salience makes them cling harder to their beliefs.
Studies suggest exactly that, yeah. It reinforces those defenses against existential anxiety.
So how does knowing we're mortal actually affect us day to day? Our motivations?
It can be profound. Often leads to appreciating the present more, shifting priorities towards meaningful relationships, maybe legacy, reevaluating values.
Does it change as we age?
Seems to. Older adults often report less death anxiety than younger people. They might focus more on emotional satisfaction, connection, maybe generativity contributing to the next generation.
It's such a core part of being human. Could AI help us understand this better too?
Potentially, yeah. AI could analyze huge amounts of philosophical text, psychological research, cross-cultural data.
Looking for patterns in how humans cope with mortality.
Exactly. Identifying recurring themes, coping strategies, maybe even correlating certain beliefs with societal well-being.
Yeah.
It's a tool to synthesize vast knowledge.
Okay, so understanding mortality is one thing, but what about extending life? That raises a whole heap of ethical questions.
A massive heap. If we develop technologies to significantly extend healthy lifespan, the first big one is fairness, resource allocation.
Who gets access?
Right. If it's expensive, does it just worsen inequality? Do the rich live decades longer? Is extending healthy life itself always good? And who decides who benefits?
And that leads to thorny questions about rationing healthcare, maybe based on age.
It's a really tough debate. Some might argue for age-based limits due to costs or perceived contribution, but the counterargument is strong. That's ageism. It violates equal moral worth, the right to life.
Our sources also highlight core ethical principles for end-of-life care.
Yes, things like autonomy, the patient's right to decide, even refuse life-sustaining treatment, beneficence acting in their best interest, non-maleficence do no harm, and just as fair distribution of resources.
And palliative care fits in there too.
Crucial. Focusing on quality of life, relieving suffering when cure is impossible. That's an ethical imperative too.
Then you have the really sensitive issues like euthanasia, physician-assisted suicide.
Deeply complex, ethically and emotionally. Arguments revolve around autonomy, compassion, the role of doctors, potential for abuse, sanctity of life beliefs. Very polarized views often.
And the idea of intergenerational justice fairness between generations.
That comes up too. If people live much longer, does that strain resources for younger generations? Pensions, jobs, opportunities. How do we balance that?
And culture plays a huge role in how people view all this.
Immensely. Beliefs about aging, death, the value of longevity vary dramatically across cultures and religions. These shape the ethical frameworks people use.
Could AI help navigate these ethical minefields?
Maybe. It could model the potential societal and economic impacts of life extension, helping policymakers anticipate challenges. It could also analyze different cultural perspectives to find common ground or understand divergences better, facilitating dialogue.
Feels like a global conversation we need to have, really. Okay, finally, let's look at AI's role more directly. How is it actually changing things now and potentially in the future regarding lifespan?
It's already having a significant impact, and it's accelerating. Disease prediction is a big one.
How does that work?
AI algorithms analyze massive health data sets, medical records, genetic info, imaging scans.
Finding patterns humans might miss.
Exactly. Identifying subtle risk factors for age-related diseases like cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. Even things like analyzing facial photos to estimate biological age or predict cancer outcomes. AI models are getting better at predicting chronic disease progression, too.
That ability to synthesize data seems key.
It really is, and that leads directly into personalized medicine, tailoring treatments based not just on the disease, but on your specific genetic profile, lifestyle, environment.
AI-driven genomics.
That's a core part of it, yeah. Understanding your individual risks and likely responses to therapies.
Is it just physical health or mental health, too?
Mental health as well. AI is being explored for early detection of cognitive decline, providing support via chatbots or virtual therapists. And think about wearable tech.
Fitbits, smartwatches.
Right. They gather continuous data, and AI analyzes it to spot risks, promote healthier habits. There was that study showing accelerometer data from wearables predicted mortality risk in older adults better than self-reports.
So AI's strength is integrating all these diverse data streams.
Precisely. Genetic, clinical, behavioral, environmental. Putting it all together for a holistic view of health and lifespan determinants. This allows for more accurate, personalized models.
Which means earlier identification of risks.
Hopefully, yes. Identifying high-risk individuals much sooner, allowing for timely interventions that could significantly impact health span, those healthy years, and maybe overall lifespan, too.
And beyond prediction, is AI helping develop actual interventions to extend healthy life?
Definitely. It's speeding up drug discovery for aging and longevity research.
Yeah.
By analyzing biological data to identify targets, screening vast libraries of potential drug molecules much faster than traditional methods, even finding new uses for existing drugs, drug repurposing.
And helping with lifestyle, too.
Yeah, personalized recommendations for diet, exercise, sleep based on your data from wearables and other sources, optimizing lifestyle for you. Plus, potential for things like smart homes, supporting older adults, personalized mental wellness tools.
The potential seems enormous. But the sources also caution about ethical considerations with AI itself.
Absolutely critical. Data privacy and security are huge. Bias in algorithms is a major concern. AI trained on biased data could perpetuate or even worsen health disparities. Transparency and accountability, knowing how AI reaches decisions, are vital too. We need safeguards.
But despite those challenges, the overall outlook seems transformative.
I think so. AI holds remarkable promise for accelerating our understanding of aging and discovering ways to extend healthy lifespan. Analyzing those complex biological pathways, identifying targets, it's a powerful tool.
And empowering individuals.
Potentially, yes. Personalized AI health platforms could give people more control, more insights into managing their own health and well-being throughout their lives.
Well, this has been quite the journey, from defining lifespan and life expectancy to the power of sunlight.
The deep human engagement with mortality, the ethical knots of longevity.
And now, the really game-changing potential of AI. We've covered a huge amount of ground from the materials you provided.
We really have. Hopefully, for you listening, it's brought some clarity, maybe sparked some connections, without feeling like too much information all at once.
That was the goal. So maybe a final thought for you to take away and chew on. As our understanding of lifespan deepens and as AI advances so rapidly, what does a well-lived life actually mean in this century?
Good question.
And how might that definition change in the future? Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
This is DigitView.